Yes, Hamzambo family. Welcome to the Swahili classes for the weekend. I do hope that you're doing wonderful. And I want to welcome you to yet another class where we get to connect and I get to learn Swahili together. And we do hope at the end of the day you are able to get an apprehension of this beautiful African language and also be able to communicate in the same. Remember, this is a language that is spoken widely on the continent with over 150 million Swahili speakers across the continent. We are talking about East Africa, where it is widely spoken in countries such as Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, DRC, as well as Zambia. And Zambia, of course, is considered as a Southern African country. But nonetheless, we still do have Swahili speakers, even in Zambia as well. The other day, I was listening to some music from Zambia, and the guy or the artist was actually singing in Swahili. And I happened to realize that this beautiful African language is actually getting acceptance everywhere. And I do hope that even the western part of the continent and around the world, that we do have many people having an interest in the language and getting to embrace the language and also getting to share it with love, with a family, with friends, and with like-minded individuals who just want to reconnect with their roots. That is why we do have this particular class each and every Saturday and Sunday. And I want to thank you so much for taking your time to join us for today's class. Remember, this is an interactive session where you're free to ask a question. You can also get to throw in a comment. You can give your suggestions. It doesn't necessarily have to be a question, but you can also share your suggestions regarding some of the things that we get to study here in our class for Swahili. I believe this is not your first time to join us in class. But if it is your very first time to join us in class, feel free to connect with us. You can write to us on email, BlackHotFireAfrica@gmail.com, and we would be more than delighted to have. We would be more than delighted to have your company. We'll be more than delighted to have your company. Even as we proceed. My name is Pikes. And yesterday we were learning about some of these noun classes. We got introduced to Swahili grammar yesterday, and we were learning that what we call the names of items, the name of things, the name of places, the names of ideas. These are nouns. In Swahili we call them madzina, and we also do call them nomino. And that is what we had embarked on learning yesterday. We did not quite finish that, but let me get a little bit. Let me touch a little bit on that what we were learning yesterday. See if I can able to share my screen here. We were talking about nouns or Swahili grammar. We were getting introduced to Swahili grammar. And we did say that we do have 9 noun classes. We do have 9 classes of nouns in Swahili. For example, we do have the wa class of noun, the wa class of noun. And these constitute all the nouns that start with the consonant in the singular form and also wa in the plural form. For example, mtoto refers to a child or a baby, and that is one baby. But if we're talking about many babies, we do say watoto. We do say watoto, which also refers to children. You might talk about a child or a baby. So if you're talking about one child, we would say mtoto. But if you're referring to many babies or many children, we do say watoto. If you're referring to a teacher, for example, in this class, I am teaching you how to communicate in Swahili or just the language itself. If you're talking about mwalimu wa teacher, we do say one teacher is a mwalimu, but if you're talking about teachers, we do say walimu. For example, in a phrase, you would say walimu wazuri, which is good teachers, or walimu wale wazuri, which is those good teachers. That is how you would say. That falls in the wa class of noun. Falls in the wa class of noun. So yesterday we got introduced to that. We were getting introduced to the classes of nouns, and this is on our notes on here that we get to use as the teaching instruction aid. Let me see if I get to this. The verbs. The Swahili grammar. Yes, this is what we were touching on yesterday, the Swahili grammar, where we are about to learn the nouns, the verbs, and adjectives. And we did say that nomino refers to the nouns, or you can say majina. Majina is a group. Majina is a group of names. So majina is a group, and therefore, if you're talking about the name of a person, the name of an animal, the name of a thing, the name of an idea, the name of an event, which forms one of the basic parts of a speech in any language, we do call that majina. Majina. And in case you wanted to introduce yourself, for example, you wanted to introduce yourself, maybe you wanted to introduce yourself, you might say jina langu. You might say jina langu. My name is jina langu ni Spikes. For example, we're just getting acquainted, and I wanted to introduce myself. I would say jina langu, which is my name, jina langu ni Spikes, jina langu ni Spikes. And in case you're talking about many names, you might say majina, Jina, which is a name. And I will also refer to a noun as a name. A noun is also a name. A noun in Swahili, it's also jina. A noun in Swahili is also jina. And therefore, if you're talking about your names, you might say majina yangu. So in case you wanted to introduce yourself and you say hello to someone, the way you say hello is a hujambo. If it's a hello to a sister, you simply say hujambo dada. If it's hello to a brother, you simply say hujambo kaka, and therefore you say hujambo kaka, jina langu ni Spikes. So when we get to learning Swahili grammar, we talk about nouns, and a noun is jina. A noun is jina as well. A noun is the name of an event, the name of a place, the name of an idea. All these things, they are known as nouns. So we do have 9 noun classes. 9 noun classes. Noun classes is what we were learning yesterday. And these noun classes, they are referred to as ngeli za nomino. Ngeli za nomino. Ngeli za nomino. Ngeli za nomino, which is noun classes. Or we might say namna. We might say namna. Namna za namna. Namna za say namna. Namna za nomino. Namna za nomino. Namna za nomino. Namna za nomino, which is types of nouns or classes of nouns. Types of nouns. Types. All classes. Classes of nouns. Classes of nouns. That is simply how you refer to classes of nouns. Classes of nouns. But if you're talking about a class, a particular class like this is a class. This is a Swahili class. I would simply just say darasa. Darasa. If you're talking about a class, darasa. And if someone wanted to welcome you to class, they would simply say karibu darasa. Karibu darasa, or karibu darasani. Karibu darasani. That is how simply you would actually say karibu darasa. Karibu, we have already established that is just a common courtesy word in Swahili, very popular. Welcome. And then you say karibu darasani, karibu darasani, karibu darasani. That would be welcome to class, welcome to class. And that is simply how you do say it, welcome to class, karibu darasani. But if you're talking about the noun classes, there's a difference, because for the noun classes, we talk about ngeli za nomino. But if you're talking about a class in terms of a room, you would say darasa. And we have established that when you talk about noun classes, the way to understand nouns in Swahili, you have to understand that they are nouns that start with the consonant For example, mwalimu is a teacher. Mwalimu is a teacher, and this is a teacher, one teacher. But this particular Swahili word, when you talk about its plural form, you do say walimu. So that is teachers, a group of teachers. That is teachers. And therefore, if you do say, for example, you wanted to say the teacher came into class, you would simply just say mwalimu aliingia darasani. Mwalimu aliingia darasani. Or you can say mwalimu ameingia darasani. Mwalimu ameingia darasani. So you realize for the word mwalimu, it starts with the the M consonant in its singular form, but in the plural form, it becomes walimu, mwalimu, walimu. So that particular word in Swahili, teacher, mwalimu, walimu, it falls in the wa class of noun, the wa class of noun. And that is the very first class of noun. We have also given the example of mtoto, watoto, mtoto, watoto. For example, if you're talking about your child, mtoto wako. I would say mtoto wako, your child, mtoto wako, that is your child, your child. If it is a small baby, you know, a child, mtoto can be a child or a baby. If it's small baby, might say mtoto analia, that means mtoto analia, the baby is crying or the child is crying, analia, probably they're not having good sleep or something. That would be the baby is crying, the baby is crying, the baby is crying. That is how you do say it. But if you're talking about many babies or many children, you do say watoto. Watoto, because that is in the singular, watoto, wanalia, wanalia. So you use the same syllable, wanalia, watoto, wanalia. So that will be the children are crying. And for example, if you wanted to describe these children, you wanted to describe them, I'd say mtoto mzuri. Mtoto mzuri simply is one. Mtoto mzuri, mzuri. That means a good child, or rather a well-behaved child. But if you're talking about many, children, we do say watoto wazuri, which is a good children. And therefore, you realize for those two examples, I've talked about mtoto, I've talked about mwalimu, and I can also add another example, which is mkulima. Mkulima is a farmer. So mkulima starts also with the letter M in its singular. Mkulima means a farmer. Mkulima means a farmer. But if you're talking about many farmers, you do say wakulima. For farmers, for many farmers, you do say wakulima, which is farmers, which is farmers. Wakulima, which is farmers. But if you're talking about another noun, for example, a visitor, one visitor, we do say mgeni, M-G-E-N-I, mgeni, for visitor. But if you're talking about the plural form, the plural, we do say many visitors. If you're talking about many visitors, we do say wageni, W-A-G-N-G-E-N-I, that is for visitors, And I'm giving these examples to illustrate Swahili grammar. We are learning today Swahili grammar, and now we're talking about nouns in Swahili. Nouns, these are names of things, names of places, names of ideas, names of events, and things like that. So in Swahili, we are able to understand nouns by simply classifying them into 9 categories, which we call the noun classes. And we do have 9 noun classes, and we are talking about the very first class of nouns, which is the wa class of noun. This entails examples such as mkulima for a farmer, mgeni for a visitor, mtoto for a child, mwalimu for a teacher, and then in their plural form, they start with wa, which becomes walimu, wakulima, watoto, wageni. That is how you get to understand these noun classes, and mostly they refer to human beings or living things. And then we shall go into the second class, which we touched on yesterday as well, which is a class that really refers to inanimate objects in Swahili. For example, you're talking about a cup, you're talking about maybe a mug like this, you're talking about maybe a stick, you're talking about a spoon, you're talking about, things that are inanimate objects. Most of them do fall in the second class of nouns in Swahili, and we shall be getting right into that. But in the first class, we do have these examples that I have shared with us. Mkulima, these start with the letter M. The nouns that start with the letter M in their singular, but in their plural, they start with the syllable wa. So this is a mkulima for one farmer, but if you're talking about farmers, you do say wakulima, wakulima, wakulima. If you're talking about someone, maybe for example, they are a cook. They are a cook. You would say a cook. We do call them mpishi, 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 mpishi. That is what you refer to as a cook. And if you're referring to a good cook, you would say mpishi mzuri, mpishi mzuri. Thank you for joining us to the class. For those who do have questions, feel free to interject at any point. You can ask anything. And I remember Swahili is a language that is gaining a prominence across the continent and even out of the continent. And this is a language that will reconnect us to our roots as an African people. That is why we spare some time on the BlackHotFire to teach Swahili. So we are talking about the first class of nouns. This is Swahili grammar, the first class of nouns. So we do say an example is a cook, a person who is a cook or a chef. You might say mpishi, mpishi. Mpishi is one cook, but if you're talking about many cooks, you would say wapishi, wapishi. Wapishi is for many cooks. That is for many cooks, for many cooks. We have given other examples that do have the letter M as starting the word. For example, mkulima, which is a farmer, mgeni, which is a visitor, mwalimu, which is a teacher. You might talk about mkurugenzi. Mkurugenzi is really a name for like mkurugenzi is like for a corporate person. A director, that is a director. We talk about a director, we call them mkurugenzi. If you're talking about someone who is as an actor, we do say muigizaji, muigizaji, muigizaji. And if you're talking about many actors, you would say waigizaji. If you're talking about a tourist, you would say mtalii, mtalii, mtalii. This is for tourist. This is for one tourist. But if you're talking about many tourists, you would say watalii, watalii. And therefore, you realize that in the singular, it starts with the M, the but in the plural, it starts with the syllable wa. It starts with the syllable wa. So that is the singular. It starts with the letter M, and then in the consonant M, the consonant and in the plural, it starts with the syllable wa. So those are the nouns that fall in the wa class of noun, the first class of nouns, and it's very, very important that we underscore that particular point. Most of these particular nouns, they refer to living things and humans, but humans in different fields. For example, the tourist, the doctor, the nurse, an actor, things like that. You'll find those particular words falling in the wa class of noun, the wa class of noun. So you can feel much welcome to ask a question at any particular point, and this has to do with the first class of nouns. If you do have a question that has to do with the first class of nouns, then I am open to any question. I am actually open to any question, and you can shoot at any point, and it's not a problem if you interject. It is not a problem that you can simply feel free to interject, and I will be more than glad. To respond to your question. More than glad to respond. So feel free. For a teacher, we normally do say mwalimu. For a teacher, would actually say mwalimu. When it comes to a student, for a student, A student, we refer to a student as mwanafunzi, 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 W-A, mwanafunzi. This is for student. But if you're talking about many students, if we are talking about many students, if you're talking about many students, we do say wanafunzi, wanafunzi, wanafunzi. And if you're talking about a good student, you can simply also refer to as mwanafunzi mzuri, mwanafunzi mzuri. If you're talking about a bad student, you can say mwanafunzi mbaya, mwanafunzi mbaya. When we were learning about common courtesy words the other day, we learned that if you're talking about welcoming someone, you would actually say karibu. If you wanted to request for something, you'd actually say tafadhali, because tafadhali simply means please. If you wanted to say to express your gratitude, if you wanted to express your gratitude, you would actually say asante. And if you wanted to say to show that you're very, very grateful, you would actually say asante sana. Asante sana, which simply refers to, or would simply, the S-A-N-A actually shows the magnitude, of your gratitude, and that therefore you would actually say asante sana, asante sana. Or in case you wanted to say much welcome, you would actually say, let me just put it down, sana. Sana simply shows a lot, all, very. So if you're talking about asante sana, asante sana, asante sana, it simply means very, thanks a lot, asante sana, thanks a lot. If someone has extended a bit of courtesy, you have requested for something, and they have been kind enough to extend. For example, you wanted some tea, and if you would actually just say hujambo kaka, hello brother, you'd say hujambo kaka, naomba unipe chai kidogo, naomba unipe chai kidogo, naomba unipe maji kidogo, whatever you might want to request. So that would be hello, hujambo kaka, hujambo kaka, hujambo kaka, naomba unipe chai kidogo. That would be hello brother, hello brother, I would love to ask for a little tea. And that is how you simply put it down. That is how you simply put it down. You simply request for something by saying naomba, naomba. But in case you wanted to show that you're asking politely, you would say tafadhali. Tafadhali is please, please, please. That is a tafadhali, tafadhali, tafadhali. And therefore, with the example above, if you did say hujambo kaka, which is hello brother, naomba is I'm asking, I would love to ask for. Chai is tea, and therefore if you do say a little tea, chai kidogo, then that would be a little tea. And then at the end of your request, you can say, you can add the word please, and therefore you would simply say tafadhali, tafadhali, tafadhali. Or you can start with the courtesy word, which is please. I would love to request for this and that. So that would be tafadhali, kaka, naomba unisaidie na chai kidogo. If you're requesting for something, if you say nipe, you can say nipe, which is give me. And the nipe will be followed by whatever you're asking for. If you say nipe chai is give me some tea, is give me tea. If you did say nipe mkate, if you're talking about nipe mkate, mkate is bread. And therefore, if someone says nipe mkate, they are simply referring to a bread, and they are requesting for bread. And therefore, If someone was talk about water, nipe maji, they would say nipe maji, nipe maji, nipe maji, and that is simply give me some water, nipe maji, which is give me water. Nipe maji is give me water. Nipe maji is give me water. Give me water. If someone wanted to request for like maybe coffee, they would say nipe kahawa, nipe kahawa, nipe kahawa, nipe kahawa tafadhali, kahawa tafadhali. Tafadhali is for please, tafadhali. And therefore, give me coffee, please. And if someone actually served you the coffee, then you would simply say asante, or you're very much welcome, very much thankful. You say asante sana, asante sana, asante sana. If someone wanted to ask you what would you like, they would love to know what you'd like. They would say, je, unataka nini? Je, unataka nini? Je. Je is to signal a question. Je, unataka nini? Je, unataka nini? That would be what do you want? What do you want? And the common answers that will pop up in a day-to-day, it might be food, it might be money, it might be water, it might be tea, it might be coffee, it might be milk, it might be, whatever you want to respond. Maybe perhaps they're a friend of yours and you just went to their house. They told you karibu ndani, which means you're welcome inside. And then they might ask you, je, ungependa nini, which is what would you love to have. And you might say, staki chochote, which is I don't want anything. Or you might tell them, nipe chai tafadhali, or nipe kahawa tafadhali, which is give me some coffee, please. Give me some coffee, please. That is how you would simply get to respond to them inquiring what you would love to have. That is how you simply respond. If you're talking about if they are asking you what you would love to have, and after they serve you, you simply respond and say asante sana, asante sana. And if you're talking about please, you do say tafadhali. If you're talking about welcome, you do say karibu. If you want to emphasize, you do say karibu sana. If you wanted to express your maybe you're sorry, you simply say pole, which is P-O-L-E, it's like Paul. And if you're very sorry, you would say pole sana, pole sana, pole sana, pole sana, which is a very sorry, very sorry. Maybe perhaps you're late. You're supposed to have a meeting at 2 p.m. And then you showed up at 2:30, or you showed up at 2:20 or 3. You might actually express you might actually excuse yourself and say pole sana nimechelewa, or pole sana kwa kuchelewa. Chelewa is simply be late or to get late, and therefore that is how you do express yourself in regards to that. Today we are learning about the noun classes, and yesterday we did also learn the same. I've given you examples of the wa class of noun, all the Swahili words that start with the letter, the consonant in their singular, and they do start with the syllable wa in their plural form. For example, mwalimu is a teacher. For example, mwanafunzi is a student. For example, mkulima is a farmer. For example, mgeni is a visitor. For example, mtalii is a tourist. But in their singular, in their plural form, they do start with wa, which is watalii, wakulima, wanafunzi, wageni, watalii. All those studies are what we were trying to elaborate more on. If you have a question regarding anything or how you do interpret whatever in Swahili, I would be more than glad to respond. I would be very happy to respond, and maybe perhaps also help you learn a little bit better when it comes to how you do say different things. Maybe perhaps in phrases, or how you respond to different things. Maybe perhaps you're looking for how we interpret something in particular. The thing with Swahili, the Swahili language, some people have referred to Swahili language as a mixed language. Mixed. The Bantu and the Arabs came together, and they actually made up this particular language. But no, Swahili is predominantly a Bantu language, but of course it has Arabic influences. And we will talk about the Arabic language and the Swahili language. The Swahili language is older than the Arabic language, but when there was the intermarriage between the Bantu and the Arabs on the coast, on the coastal towns of East Africa, for example, Dar es Salaam, for example, Mombasa, Lamu, Malindi, and other towns like that, there were borrowing of words. There was borrowing of words. And these borrowing of words, now we did have the intermarriage of the cultures, and there was also that influence of the Arabic on Swahili. But nonetheless, I want to tell you that Swahili is actually a Bantu language. But of course, we want to move to the second class. We want to move to the second class of nouns, just to help it sink deeper, because this refers to the key V class of nouns, and these mostly refers to inanimate objects. It refers to inanimate objects, and I am talking about things such as a spoon. A spoon is called kijiko, which is a spoon. A book is known as kitabu. A book is known as kitabu. Kitabu is a book. A book. If you're talking about this is the key V, the second class of noun, which is a key V class of nouns, the key V class of nouns, the key V class of nouns, mostly referring to inanimate objects. For example, a spoon, a book, an explanation maybe would also fall in that. Maybe kielezo. Kielezo is how you explain something. Kielezo, an explanation. You might talk about vielezo. Vielezo is explanations of. Thank you for joining us in class today. Remember, you can interject and ask a question at whatsoever point. Today we are learning about Swahili grammar, and that is where we are talking about. The classes of nouns. In case you do have a question, feel free to ask here, or you can also shoot me an email, BlackHotFireAfrica@gmail.com, BlackHotFireAfrica@gmail.com, and I will be more than glad to respond to you. This is a nouns, or we call them majina. If you're talking about your name, we talk about jina lako. If you're talking about my name, we do say jina langu. And if you're talking about the names of things, of places, this is in common. These fall under nouns. And to help us understand nouns better in Swahili, we do have 9 noun classes. And we're talking about the or. We have already studied those. Now we're talking about the key V. And that is what we are talking about right now, in case you're just joining us and wondering what the heck is going on with these Swahili class. And like I did say, you might ask yourself why it is that we have decided to learn Swahili out of all these other African languages. It's because Swahili is the most spoken on the continent, and it has over 150 million speakers. 150 million speakers. And if you're touring, or not just touring, but even looking to settle in in different parts of East Africa, even Africa at large, it is important that you have the knowledge to communicate in at least one native or one African language. If you go to Ethiopia, there are different ethnic groups in Ethiopia, about 81 ethnic groups in Ethiopia. And therefore, among them, we do have about 81 languages in Ethiopia. If you come to Kenya, we do have about 47 different ethnic groups. And therefore, among ourselves, we do have 47 different languages in Kenya. If you go to Rwanda, there are 3 different ethnic groups in Rwanda: the Hutus, the Tutsis, and the Twa. And therefore, you'd have 3 different languages being spoken in Rwanda. And if you go to, for example, to Burundi, the same. Go to Uganda, the same. Go to Cameroon, you'll find how about 150 languages. Go to Nigeria, you'll find about 200 languages in Nigeria. But it is important that we all gather here and we all get to learn these beautiful East African language of Swahili, because this is a language of the future. In Tanzania, if you travel to Tanzania, it becomes the language of commerce. If you're trading in anything, it becomes the language of commerce. If you're talking about Kenya, this is the official, the national language rather. It becomes the national language. And if you go into different other African nations, you are able to communicate very, very well using Swahili as your language of communication with the locals and anyone else right there. I would hope that more and more people, embrace the language. It's very, very important. I would hope that more and more people embrace the language. It's very, very important. Because united we do stand, but divided we would fall. And we have seen our people being divided across the continent. And if only we are to unite and have one common language, then I think we would actually be moving somewhere. Because most of the time you will hear people talking about you want to be united, but the language barrier has actually made us stand divided. Like I did say, if you're talking about someone coming from a country such as Cameroon, in Cameroon we do have the francophones and we do have the anglophones. And in Cameroon, you realize that people are also divided between languages. There was a part of Cameroon which was colonized by the British, and the other part, the wider part of Cameroon, which was a French colony. And these people, because of the differences in the languages, they are divided, and they have different orientations towards even life itself. But I think if you were to embrace one language, and then later maybe perhaps embrace even a common currency for Africa, I think we would be at a much better position. We would be at a much better position in terms of how easy we would be able to communicate and even work together in terms of a trade, in terms of our economy. And that would actually bring us even much more closer. When we're talking about the diaspora, we do have a whole lot of our people in Brazil, our people in Northern America, in the US, whatever other states, in different states. I think the most important thing is having that collective African consciousness. And I think having one unified language would also help us get to that particular place of a collective African consciousness. And from that, we would also have collective action, collective action in terms of coming together and doing mighty things for the sake of our people and for the sake of our posterity. Nonetheless, we go on. I will give examples. Over these words that start with the key, the syllable key in their singular form and the syllable V in their singular form. For example, a seat. If you're talking about a seat like this one, I'm seated on. I'm seated on a seat. We do say nimekalia kiti. Kiti is K-I-T-I, kiti, K-I-T-I, which is for a chair or a seat, or a seat. If you're talking about my seat, my chair, I would say kiti changu. If my seat is broken, kiti changu kimevunjika. That will be my seat. My chair is broken. But if you also got into a room, and someone told you, take a seat or have a seat. What they do say is karibu kiti, welcome to have a seat. They would say take a seat. So they say karibu karibu kiti, which is have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. Or you're welcome to take a seat. 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 You actually say that to someone. Maybe you were inviting them to your house or to your office, and they are in your house, they are in your office. The way you simply tell them to take a seat is karibu kiti, karibu kiti. You will tell them zo ndani or karibu ndani, which is welcome inside, and have a seat, which is karibu kiti, karibu kiti. And then from there, you can start your conversation. And a conversation is called mazungumzo, mazungumzo, mazungumzo. And then you would actually say, tuanzie mazungumzo, let's start a conversation. Let's start a conversation. Tuanzie mazungumzo yetu. Yetu is ours. Yenu is yours. Yenu, yenu, yenu. So if you talk about another different example is kijiko. Kijiko just simply refers to a spoon. I don't have a spoon right here, but you would talk about kijiko and you hold in one, and that would be even a shovel. Even a shovel is a kijiko. They simply refer to it as the same. So if you're talking about my spoon, I would say kijiko changu. I would request for you, and I would say nipe sahani na kijiko. Nipe sahani na kijiko. And if I did say nipe sahani na kijiko, then that is how you get to understand. That is how you get to understand it. Nipe sahani na kijiko. Nipe sahani na kijiko. And therefore, that will be give me a spoon and a plate. Give me a spoon and a plate. Give me a spoon and a plate will be nipe. Nipe is give me. Nipe is give me. Stretch out my hand like this and say nipe. Nipe sahani na kijiko. Then that will be give me a spoon and a plate. A plate is known as sahani. Sahani. Sahani is a plate, and a plate. The name sahani is very, very similar to another word, which is samahani. Samahani. We learned about samahani yesterday. Samahani is excuse. Samahani means excuse. So if I did say samahani dada, it simply means excuse me sister. If I did say samahani kaka, it simply means excuse me brother. If I did say samahani mama, that would be excuse me mom, excuse me mom. And if I did say samahani baba, that is a simply excuse me father, samahani father. And if someone was actually just you're blocking their way, someone is actually, you're in a room full of people and someone is blocking your way, you can tell them samahani, which is excuse me, I need to pass. Naomba nipite. Naomba nipite. Naomba is requesting. Naomba. Naomba is requesting. Requesting. Or if you're making a request, you do say naomba. Naomba tafadhali. Naomba tafadhali is requesting please. Requesting please for this and that. For this and that. Naomba maji kidogo. That will be requesting for a bit of water. Kidogo is an adjective. Kidogo is an adjective, which means a little. You're describing the amount of water you want, and therefore you would say a little water. A little water. Maji kidogo is a little water. A little water. And that is simply how you get to say it. Up to that particular point, if you do have a question, feel free to ask. If you do have a question, feel free to ask. The way you introduce yourself is jina langu ni Spikes. So, for example, if your name is Peter, then you would actually say jina langu ni Peter. If your name is Mary, jina langu ni Mary. If your name is Mike, jina langu ni Mike. And that is how you actually go on and introduce yourself. So you do say jina langu ni this and that, jina lako. So if I did say jina langu ni Spikes, then I would ask you wewe je. That would be how about yourself. And that is simply how you carry on with the conversation. That is simply how you carry on with the conversation. For example, you might say jambo, which is hello. And then I would say jina langu ni Spikes. Then my name is Spikes. And I would ask you je wewe. Je wewe. Wewe is you, yourself. Wewe is you or yourself. So if I did say je wewe,
It's simply asking how about you, how about you, how about you. So what I would say, hujambo dada, which is hello sister, hujambo dada, which is hello sister. And then I would say, jina langu ni Spikes, my name is Spikes, jina langu, jina langu, my name, jina langu ni Spikes. And then I would ask you, J, wewe. And then from there you might go on and I say, naomba, unisaidie na maji kidogo, unisaidie is a phrase, unisaidie is help me with. Naomba unisaidie na maji kidogo, Maji is water, M-A-J-I, that is for water. If you're talking about money, which is very important, I think most conversations revolve around money, either directly or indirectly. So, naomba pesa kidogo. So, pesa is for money, P-A-S-A, that is for money. If someone is talking about nipe pesa, they're asking you for money. But of course, there is no money without work. So for work, we do say kazi, which is work. So pesa baada ya kazi. That will be money after work. Pesa baada ya kazi. That is money after work, money after work. In case you're just having a conversation, or maybe it's around lunchtime and you're feeling hungry, how you do say that is nahisi njaa, nahisi. Hisi is feel, H-I-S-I, hisi is feel. So if you do say hisi njaa, if you do say feel is hisi. So if someone says that they feel hungry, and you do say ninahisi, ni, the ni at the start of that, the ni which is a prefix for hisi, then ninahisi, that is I'm feeling hungry. Ninahisi njaa, ninahisi njaa. Njaa is hunger. So I feel hungry. Ninahisi njaa, which is I feel hungry. Someone might ask you, what will you have? What will you eat? So therefore they would actually just say, Je utakula nini? Je utakula nini? Je utakula nini? There are so many delicacies when it comes to the African context. If you walk into an African restaurant, and maybe it's an East African restaurant, if you want to have meat or beef, you would actually say nyama. Ninataka nyama is I want to have some meat. Ninataka nyama. Even if you have rice, and maybe it's rice and beef, beef rice, actually say ninataka mchele na nyama. Na is a connector, which means and. So for example, if you wanted cake and milk, you'd say keki na maziwa, which is cake and milk. If you wanted maybe rice and beef, you would actually say mchele na nyama, which is rice and beef. If you wanted, for example, this and that, this and that, then the connector is and, na. For example, you do have two items in your pocket. You might say, niko na, I have, niko. Let me just put it down. Niko na. What do you have in your pocket? Maybe a handkerchief, kitambaa, and maybe your wallet. That will be a handkerchief and maybe your wallet. Or you might have your phone, simu. Niko na simu na mfuko. I do have a phone and maybe a wallet or something like that. That is how you do use the connector na. So, but for ni refer is equals to is, or it's a connector pointing to self. It's also a connector pointing to self. It's a connector pointing to self. Anyhow, now we go back to learning the kiwi. The kiwi is a second class of nouns, very, very easy to understand. Any noun that starts with a syllable ki in its singular form, and it starts with a V in its plural form. Kitabu, vitabu. That is an example of a book and books. Kijiko, vijiko. That is an example of a spoon and spoons. Kijiko, vijiko. So if you have any question regarding that up to that particular point, shoot. I would love to hear your question. If you have any question, shoot. We do hope that the class is active, because there are two things. If someone is teaching something and there are no questions, it means they fully understand. If there are no questions, it also means people don't know the heck you're talking about. The learner have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But in case, I don't know if any of us has actually been to Tanzania, I realized that there is a bit of a difference, because there is what they do call the pure Swahili, and then there is now this bastardized Swahili, but it's mixed up with everything. But the most important thing is to realize that any language, if you're a linguist, any language is actually always evolving, is almost always evolving. If a language is not evolving, then I think at some point the language will actually become archaic. Language will just die out. At the time, but there was a movie, it was popular in the 90s and also the early 2000s, actually in the 90s. That was The Goats Must Be Crazy. And this movie actually did cast the image of Africa in a very, very negative way. But what did happen is that they were the people, the Khoisan, the Khoisans of South Africa. When they were communicating in the Khoi language, the Khoisan language, and that was the language of the clicks, the click sounds, which would be a very, very difficult language to understand. I think I'm not quite sure whether I believe that language has somewhat become extinct. I'm not sure whether they are speakers of these are click sound language. But I think if you're talking about easy languages, Swahili is one of the very, very easy languages. It's not difficult. In case you would just love to have one-on-one classes, do let me know as well, which is just you can write me an email, BlackHotFireAfrica@gmail.com, and maybe perhaps you can see on the possibility of just having a one-on-one class in case you would love to have that. But for the sake of just learning easy Swahili, then you're in the right place. And there are many resources right now on the internet. The Duolingo app. If you download the app, you can use that to learn Swahili, because it helps you in easy translations. If you check out maybe perhaps books, there are guidebooks that you can check out. And I do believe the secret is just consistency, and just having practice, because we do say practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. It's very, very important that you do get to practice whatever we learn here. Practice it with your friends, practice it with your colleagues, practice it with your family, whomever you do find available there. Also spark that interest, because sometimes people do say, oh, I'm very old, why should I bother myself learning Swahili? I'm in my 70s, I am in my late 60s, I am in my late 50s, I am in my 40s, I am in my 30s, I am in my 20s. I should have started these when I was in my teens and things like that. But it's never too late to learn, and never stop learning. Never stop learning. If you do happen to have an opportunity, a forum like this, to learn Swahili, please do join us by all means. I know sometimes you might be busy. You can still get a playback of these videos. Once we end the live, you can still have the playback, play back and watch the live, watch the show later once you're done. And that would actually be a good look for you. Talking about a good look, I did hear about this particular movie which is coming up, and I am particularly interested. To know more about this particular book, which is The Children of the Blood and Bone. Because just the other day, I was on my social media, and I happened to see this star-studded cast of this book, of this the adoption of this particular book. Is there anyone here that has read the book? I believe it's a Nigerian book. It's a Nigerian book which is known as Children of Blood and Bone. Children of Blood and Bone. I have never read it myself, but now with this cast, with this star-studded cast, Viola Davis is on there. A whole cast of black actors, and therefore it caught my interest. I have not read the book, but I might look for this particular book very soon, or I might just wait for the movie, because reading a book in this day and age, not many people read books. People have now forgotten into with the micro entertainment. People would rather be on TikTok watching videos and on reels on Instagram, Facebook, and other whatsoever other places than read books. So I would just like to ask: has anyone here read this particular book, which is by Tommy Adeyemi, which is known as The Children of Blood and Bone? Because I do hear there is a star-studded cast of these actors. For example, Viola Davis and others that will be acting on the adoption of the adaptation of this book into a movie. What I have seen on many movies that purport to be set in Africa, sometimes they do have actors that are on there pretending that they are communicating in Swahili. But most of these particular actors are not even from Swahili-speaking parts of Africa, and therefore sometimes you do find they are not really they are not selling it. They are not selling it. But it is important that for you who has joined us in class, feel much welcome. Ask any question, shoot at any point. When it comes to greetings, common courtesy words, common phrases, common items in Swahili, how you go about your business, conversations in different contexts. We shall be getting to study, or we shall be getting to learn most of that right here. And I would advise, or I would urge you, kindly just ask a question at whatsoever point. Feel free to ask a question. Feel free to ask a question, and that would be wonderful. That would actually be wonderful. That would actually be wonderful. That would actually still be a good look. So I think we shall take a short break. I think we shall take a short break. And as when you come back, we shall be learning about more about these noun classes. Then we shall go into verbs. We shall go into verbs because verbs are doing words. These are action words. And when we talk about action words, we also want to understand the terms of tenses. The tenses, the present tenses, the future tenses. The past tense to construct, but when you're trying to construct this particular sentence, you're constructing it in the wrong tense. Maybe talking about let's meet up tomorrow, but you end up talking about something different. We shall take a short break, and then we shall be right back. One of the secrets when it comes to learning Swahili, I would urge anyone to also check out Swahili songs. And let me just see if I can get one of those Swahili songs on here. There's a song I love, which is known as Siku Azigandi. Which is let me try share these with us.
Let's share these are Swahili Jam as we take a break. That is actually a jam from Tanzania. The name of the artist is Lady Zedi, one of the most popular artists in Tanzania. The name of the jam is known as Siku Hazigandi, and the message, the message, the overriding message in that particular song, it's about people who will speak. Whether you're doing good, whether you're doing wrong, continue doing you, because at the end of the day, people will still speak. And people, that song talks about backbiters. People will actually, even the people that you think will not be at you, behind your backbiting and are talking about you stuff and actually lying quite a lot on that. That is what the song is all about, and that is just the way of life. If you're focused on, these distractions, people saying this, people saying that, whether you do good or you do bad, keep doing you. At the end of the day, people will speak. So I was saying, if you're watching, if you're listening to Swahili music and there's subtitles, that also helps in terms of you learning Swahili. If you're watching Swahili movie, for example, Tanzania, they have a big film industry, and it's very, very much active. You can actually still check out a Swahili movie on YouTube, and it has subtitles. Those that have subtitles, you can still catch up. What are these folk talking about? And from that, you can connect the dots, and also get to learn as you on the move, and you'll be able to learn a little bit more of that. My name is Pikes, and I'm happy to have your company today here with us in class. I never take your company for granted. In case you want to jump to some more of that beautiful African music, you can head over to www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. Click on the live radio. I believe in particular segments, you will still enjoy beautiful Swahili music coming from East Africa. They do call it bongo music. Bongo music is Tanzania music, and bongo music is actually some of the best music that you'll ever listen to. It is very, very melodious, the harmony in the music and everything. They're big artists, for example, Diamond Platnumz. There is Harmonize. There is Lady Zedi, who we just played you. There is who else is from who is Germany and Tanzania? There is Zuchu. There is what is the name of this particular guy? Revani. And we do have some of these particular artists, and you can check out their music and you will enjoy because they are also about storytelling, as compared to music from other parts of the world. I will not mention names, but you find Tanzanian music to be quite peculiar. They jam a lot. They talk about love a lot. They talk about real life situations and things like that. And they are also very good storytellers. In Swahili, we do call a good story hadithi. Hadithi is a story. H-A-D, hadithi. Hadithi is a story. Hadithi is a story. Hadithi is a story. Hadithi is a story. And if you're talking about a good story, we will talk about hadithi nzuri. Hadithi nzuri. Hadithi nzuri. And that is a good story. A good story. A good story. So if someone says, niambie hadithi nzuri, niambie hadithi nzuri, that would be tell me a good story. Tell me is niambie. So if someone says niambie hadithi nzuri, they are simply talking about tell me a good story. When we talk about conversing, we do say zungumza. That is converse. So if you're conversing with someone, for example, we are seated somewhere outside and we are conversing, we do say tunazungumza. If you're talking about conversing with someone, you do say zungumza naye, because naye is them, him or her. Naye is them. It means him or her. Zungumza naye. And what you realize about Swahili, one of the most peculiar things about Swahili, there are two things I find to be peculiar about Swahili, actually three, but for the sake of, there are two things I find to be peculiar about Swahili. One, there are no X and Y in Swahili. The English alphabet, you use all the other letters of the English alphabet in Swahili, but you do not use X and Y. X and Q. They are not there. X and Q are omitted. X and Q are omitted in Swahili. They do not form part of the English or the Swahili alphabet or the English language. The Swahili language. Another peculiar thing is that Swahili is not gender specific. If I'm saying talk to her,
For example, talk to her. Talk to her. That would be ongea naye. Ongea naye. If I'm talking about talk to him, talk to him, talk to him, that would be still ongea naye. So if I'm talking about talk to him and I'm talking about transfer or translating that in Swahili, it becomes ongea naye. If I'm talking about talk to her, it does not change. It still remains ongea naye. Ongea naye. So in Swahili, it is not gender specific. Talk to him or her. Talk to him or her. It is not gender specific for some reason. I think in the context of the culture or in the context of, there are matriarchal societies, there are patriarchal societies, and the culture is, they skew towards, having respect for more women more than men or the other way around. But I think in terms of the language, if I was to make a deduction as to why Swahili is not gender specific, this is just a personal, this is my thought. This is my opinion, a personal opinion. I think the Swahili language, and in the context of the Bantu culture, if I might call it so, there was that it was complementary in a way that no gender is actually more special or more important than the other. That is why there is not gender specific. Swahili is not gender specific. If I'm talking about ongea naye, you might be talking to him or her. And if you're talking about I've met him talking to her on the road, nimepatana naye akiongea naye barabarani, you wouldn't know whether I'm talking about a lady, whether I'm talking about a man. You wouldn't really know, which is also peculiar with the Swahili language. I do not know for what reason, but from my deductions, from what I would think, maybe perhaps it's because the value, it's because it's complementary. They do see the gender as complementary, either woman or man. That is my thinking, but maybe perhaps I'm wrong. But anyhow, when you're talking about how you ask for something, you do say ningetaka, which I would like. If you given something, you do say asante sana. And I will continue with the noun classes for now. In case you just checked in, thank you so much for joining us for class. My name is Spikes, your tutor for the day. You do say mwalimu wa Kiswahili. Mwalimu wa Kiswahili is the Swahili teacher. Mwalimu wa Kiswahili. Mwalimu wa Kiswahili is the Swahili teacher. You do say mwalimu wa Isibati. That is the one who's teaching you Swahili. But let me go back to, let me not get distracted. Let me go back to our notes here. And I need to ask a question. Has anyone here read the book, which is known as The Children of the Bone and Blood? Has anyone read the book? I would love to know. I'll try to take it out, see what it's all about. Let's go to the me class of noun. The me class of noun refers to things or names in Swahili that start with the consonant in the singular and the syllable me in the plural. For example, mto and mito. Mto is a river, mito are rivers. Mito are rivers. Let's go to the G ma class of noun, the fourth. And these constitutes all the words in Swahili that start with the syllable G in their singular, and the syllable ma in their plural. For example, jicho, macho. Jicho refers to one eye, but if I'm talking about both eyes, I do say macho, macho. And these are the 9 noun classes. According to other people, it might give you more classes, but these are basically the 9 noun classes. We jump from that, we go into pronouns. Pronouns. A pronoun is a word that can function as a noun phrase used by itself, and that refers to either to the participants in the discourse. For example, I, you, or to someone or something mentioned elsewhere in the discourse. For example, she, it, this. So if you're talking about the singular, I, we do say mimi, I, it's for mimi. For example, my name is Spikes. I am known as Spikes. My name is Spikes. I would say mimi, ninaitwa Spikes. Mimi, ninaitwa Spikes. Mimi, ninaitwa Spikes. Or if you're saying, if people are talking about food and people are talking about, would you like to have food? Then I would actually say, mimi sitaki chakula, which is I do not want food. Mimi sitaki chakula is I do not want food. Chakula is food. And if someone is asking whether I want some coffee and I do not want coffee, I would say mimi sitaki kahawa. Kahawa is tea. If someone is asking whether I would have to have some milk, I would say mimi sitaki maziwa, because I do not want to have milk. So I is mimi, personally, I, the first person singular. So if you're talking about we want to have some food. We want to have some food. We is Sisi, and we would actually say we want to have some food. We want to have some food. Then that would be sisi tunataka chakula. Sisi tunataka chakula. Sisi tunataka chakula. So we translates to sisi. We translates to sisi. Sisi tunataka chakula. Sisi tunataka chakula. We want some food. Sisi tunataka chakula. And if someone offered us food, then we would eat, and then we would say asante sana kwa chakula kizuri, which is thank you so much for the sweet food. If you're talking about he is having some food. He is having some food. He translates to yeye. He translates to yeye. She also translates to yeye. That is also what I was talking about. And if you're talking about it, maybe it's a bird. It's a bird. It's a bird. We might talk about it seated on the roof. We might say ile ndege imekalia pa. Imekalia pa. So it's seated on the roof. If we're talking about they, we go and we refer to that as wale or wow. They want some food. They want some food. Wale or wao wanataka chakula. Wao wanataka chakula. Wao wanataka chakula. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. Wao wanataka chakula. They want some food. They want some food. They want some food. They want some food. And if they were some food and they were full, they would say tumeshiba sana. Sana simply is for an emphasis, for a lot. Tumeshiba sana. That would be we are very full. We are very full. Tumeshiba sana. We are very full. We are very full. Tumeshiba sana. We are very full. And if you think about them, let's say wameshiba sana. Wow, wameshiba sana. Wow, wameshiba sana. Which is they are very, very full. So I think that is the end of that particular bit, and I think we would still do more, but for now, we'll actually just reach there. And now we go into verbs. We go into verbs. Verbs in Swahili are called vitenzi. But if you're talking about one verb, it's called kitenzi. And if we're talking about verbs are used to express an action. For example, if we say I swim, nina. If you say I swim or I eat or I dance, nina katika, then that would be I swim. Then that would be expressing an action. The present tense in Swahili conveys a situation or an event in the present time. Of course, there is now the essence of having tenses. For example, in Swahili, verbs take the following prefix na to form the present tense. If you say ninakunywa simply means I am drinking. Ninakunywa maji. Ninakunywa maji simply refers to I am drinking. Kunywa is the action. Kunywa is the verb. Kunywa is the verb. Kunywa is the verb for drink. To drink is a verb to drink. But if you're talking about ni nakunywa, ni refers to self, I, then na is a tense marker for the present. Na is a tense marker for the present. And then you put kunywa. So that becomes ni nakunywa. So if you say ni nakunywa, it simply means I am drinking. It's in the present. It's a present continuous. I am drinking. If you're talking about read is soma. Soma is to read. And if you're reading right now, you might say ni nasoma. Ni, na is a tense marker, and soma is a verb. So that would be I am reading. Ni nasoma. So there's that essence of actually not knowing what tense is represented. Is it the present tense? Is it the future tense? Is it the past tense? So if you're talking about the past tense, you would say nilisoma. Nilisoma. I was asking earlier, has anyone read the book? Has anyone read the book? Children of the Bone and Blood. Has anyone? If there is anyone, I would love to know what the book is about. I'll also still go on and search and find out what the book is all about. But to that particular point, if you do have a question, please ask. Please ask. Uliza swali. Uliza swali tafadhali, which is ask a question. Uliza swali is ask a question. Ask a question. Ask a question. Uliza swali. Uliza swali. If I wanted to say ask a question, please, that will be uliza swali tafadhali. Uliza swali tafadhali. Uliza swali tafadhali. I will be more than glad to respond to your question. I will be more than glad to respond to your question. I will be more than glad to respond to your question. So if you do have a question, please do ask. I was just giving I was pausing. If you have a question, please do ask. If you're meeting up with friends, if you're meeting up with friends, if you're meeting up with friends, or if you're meeting up with a group of people, the way you said, if it's one individual, you're meeting up with a friend, you do say hujambo, which is hello, and then you ask them habari yako, which is how are you. If it's a group of people, you're meeting with a group of friends, you do say ham jambo. There's an M there. Ham jambo, habari zenyu. We learned that yesterday. Ham jambo, habari zenyu. And if you are to meet up with someone tomorrow, because meet is patana, to meet is patana, P-A-T-N-A, patana. So if you were to meet with someone tomorrow, you would actually tell them tutapatana kesho, tutapatana, tutapatana kesho. Kesho is simply tomorrow. We'll meet tomorrow. We'll meet tomorrow. Tomorrow. And if you wanted to say God willing, we'll meet up tomorrow, God willing. You do say Mungu. Mungu is God. Mungu is God. Mungu akitujalia, akitujalia, which is God willing. Or if God grants us that opportunity, then you would actually say God willing, God willing. Tutapatana kesho, Mungu atakujalia. So there are those popular words that come up in our conversations. For example, Mungu. For example, kesho or leo. Leo simply means today. Leo is not the star sign. Leo is today. So if you to meet up with someone today, you would actually say tunapatana leo. Tunapatana leo. Tunapatana leo is we are meeting today. If you're meeting tomorrow we do say kesho. So we would say tunapatana kesho. If you met yesterday, with someone, yesterday, in Swahili we do say jana. We do say jana, J-A-N-A, jana. So you would say tulipatana jana is we met yesterday. Tulipatana jana is we met yesterday. We met yesterday. Tulipatana jana is we met yesterday. Good afternoon, Sister Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us in class. And I do hope that you're doing wonderful this weekend. I do hope that everything is well for you and your family. There's a sister I was thinking about. That was a sister, Naturalista Mo. Yeah, it's been ages. She's still around with the BlackHotFire network? I haven't seen her, but I remember she had wonderful products when it comes to hair shampoos, soaps, candles. What else was she making? She had a whole lot of items that she was making, and she was doing a wonderful job. But I do hope it has been ages. It has been ages, but I do hope that our business is still doing well. I do hope. Oh yeah, I do see. I have just picked up and I've seen her website. I think she's still doing wonderful. Her website was Naturalista Mo, and I think she was making a whole lot of her products with her sister. Sorry, her daughter. I think she was working with her daughter. Yeah, she was making skincare products, hair care products, bath and body care products, and all things like that. And made from aloe vera, cocoa butter, shea butter, coconut oil. She was doing a wonderful job. And this is to all the sisters who might be looking for products, natural products. I think this sister has it. It's a Naturalista Mo, handmade my Naturalista Mo. That is the name of a brand. And shipping on orders over $50. Discount code is free. Ship 15. That was a sister. That was a sister, Naturalista Mo. I do hope that she's still doing wonderful, and I'm glad that our business is still doing well. I can see it from the internet there, online, that she's still doing wonderful. So we're learning about verbs today. And verbs are doing words. Of course, they are used to express action. If you're talking about ninakula chakula, kula is the action. Ni refers to self, I, ni, and the the NA is a tense marker. The NA becomes a tense marker. So therefore, if we do say ninakula chakula, it simply means I am eating some food. I am eating food. If I did say ninakunywa maji, it simply means I am drinking water. If I did say ninasoma kitabu, soma is the verb for reading. So therefore, that will be ninasoma kitabu. That will be I am reading a book. Ninasoma kitabu. Soma kitabu. Kitabu is I am reading a book. I'm reading a book. So why it is like that? The knee, which is the knee points to I. Knee. I am. I. Knee. And if you're talking about nasoma, na is a tense marker. The na is a tense marker for the present tense. And then soma is the verb itself. And then kitabu is the object. So therefore, if you do say ninasoma kitabu, that is I am reading a book in the present. I am reading a book. If you're talking about ninakunywa maji, kunywa is the verb. Maji is the object. But if you do say ni points to I. Na is the tense marker. So ninakunywa maji is I am drinking water. And for example, if you, of course, also wanted to add an adjective to this particular book, to this particular sentence, you might say, ninasoma kitabu kizuri. Kizuri is an adjective which points to a good book. Kitabu kizuri is a good book. And therefore, if you're talking about ninasoma kitabu kizuri, it simply refers to I am reading a good book. And you might say nitakusaidia nacho nikimaliza, which is I will help you with I will lend it to you when I finish. And I was asking about a little book, a book earlier. I was asking if anyone has read the book which is known as Children of the Bone and Blood, because it's a movie adaptation of it which is coming up. And there's too much hype because there is a star-studded cast I was talking about, for the book adaptation. And I was impressed because it brought everyone together. Some of the best actors have actually been picked. They have actually been picked for this particular one. And it's everyone on there. Children of the Blood and Bone. This is the book. And it seems like everyone has been picked for this particular one. and I'm particularly interested to know what is the book about, and looking forward to seeing how will the movie be, because they have picked the likes of Viola Davis. The Viola Davis are on there. I do believe they would have what's her name? Almost forgetting her name again. What's her name? Anyhow, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm also hoping that you also check it out, because when it comes to literature, African writers, they are sort of looked down upon. African writers, they are looked down upon. If I was to just put the question out there, how many African authors, African writers do you know, especially writing in on fiction writers? Do you know? You might not be a particular fan of fiction books, fiction stories and things like that, but when it comes to African writers, they are not given an equal platform. When it comes to even publishers, publishing groups, sometimes we do have African writers being looked down upon and not having adequate representation when it comes to the platforms that you can find books on. For example, on Kindle, for example, on Amazon Kindle, on other different platforms. I don't think there's enough representation on African authors and writers like that. But I do hope that at the end of the day, we do see that also coming to fruition. But nonetheless, going back to the verbs, let's go back to the verbs. When talking about the present tense, we talk about na as the tense marker. Na is a tense marker for the present tense. Na is a tense marker for the present tense. And if you're talking about the past tense, we do have li, L-I, the syllable li being the tense marker. For example, if you're talking about alikunywa maji simply means he or she drank water. He or she drank water. If they read a book, and you're talking about they read a book, you would say alisoma kitabu, alisoma kitabu, because li, he or she read a book, read a book. So the tense marker for the past tense in Swahili, it has to be li, L-I, the syllable li, which is the tense marker that comes before, is a prefix. It comes before the verb. You place it before the verb, and then after the verb, now you put the object. The object in this case is a book, and therefore, if you do say alisoma kitabu, it simply means he or she read a book. And that is simply how you put it together. If you're talking about alikula chakula, it means he or she ate some food. Kula chakula simply means eat food. So if you say alikula chakula, it simply means that he or she ate some food. If you say alikunywa maji, it simply means that he or she drank some water. If I do say nilisoma kitabu, it simply means I read a book. Maybe yesterday, the day before, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a month before, a year ago, nilisoma kitabu. And that is simply how you get to refer, or that is simply how you get to illustrate the past tense, which is li, the tense marker, which comes as a prefix before the verb. So for this case, you do say li, the L-I syllable li, then before soma. It comes as a prefix before soma. Lisoma. If you say ni lisoma, that is ni, I, li, tense marker, and then it comes before the verb, soma, ni lisoma kitabu. You do have now the book as the object in that particular case. Nilisoma kitabu kizuri. That means I read a good book. I read a very good book. And that is simply how you put it together. It's not difficult. If you have a question to that particular point, feel free to ask. Uliza swali. If you do have a question up to that particular point, feel free to ask. And also, you can let me know how your weekend has been. How has your weekend been, fam? I would love to know how your weekend has been. Mine has just been quite usual, not without much highlights. But I would love to know how has your weekend been and where are you actually tuning from? That is my question. Where are you tuned in from? I would love to know where you're tuning from. Where are you tuned in from? That is my question for you. I would love to know where you are actually tuning from. I'm coming live to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In case you have not been to Nairobi, we do say Karibu Sana, Karibu Kenya, which means you're much welcome to Kenya. And Karibu Kenya. Karibu Kenya. Kenya ni nyumbani, which is Kenya is home. Kenya is home, and you also are welcome to visit Kenya if you haven't. If you haven't been to Tanzania, I would say Karibu Tanzania. If you haven't been to Africa, I would just say Karibu Africa. Karibu Africa Mashariki, which is welcome, very much welcome to East Africa. That is simply how you get to say it. It's not difficult. It's not rather difficult. Any question? Any question before we continue? Any question? Je, una swali? Je, una swali? Do you have a question regarding nouns, regarding verbs, regarding Swahili grammar? As we continue learning, it's important that we continue learning together. Let me know where you're also tuning from. I want to give you a quick shout out for just joining us in our Swahili class. For those that are joining us for the very first time, we want to thank you and appreciate you. We do this every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays. That is when we gather together and have these Swahili classes. So in case you would also maybe like to reach out and have a one-on-one class, that we would also set that up. You can write BlackHotFire at gmail.com, BlackHotFire Africa at gmail.com. You can write to us, and I will just be glad to respond in case you do have any question. So we carry on. We are learning Swahili grammar, and I want to thank everyone who has joined us for class today. Like I did say, in case you want to write to us, you can feel free to write to us. So let's talk about the future tense. The future tense in Swahili. For the future tense, it's no different. The only thing that we realize is that there is the tense marker, and this happens to be the syllable ta, ta. The tense marker is tm. For example, if you're talking about you will read or I will read, you do say nitasoma. So the tm is a tense marker which comes before the verb. Soma is a read. So if I do say nitasoma, that will be I will read. You'd actually say nitasoma kitabu. Then that will be I will read a book. So that is the tense marker, happens to be ta. So you do say ni ta soma kitabu. Kitabu is a book. Nitasoma kitabu. Therefore, that will be I will read a book. Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps the day after, and maybe perhaps next week. You never know. I will read a book. So therefore, the tense marker is ta, which is a tense marker for the future tense. Tense marker for the future tense. For the future tense in Swahili, you do say nitasoma kitabu. But in case you're talking about the past, you would say nilisoma kitabu. Remember, you can check out our official network website, which is www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. And on the network website, there's a whole lot of good things that you can find on the network website. You can find news, or black news on there, news to do with our people globally. You can also find the store that has nutritional products, shop that has apparels, caps, hoodies, t-shirts, everything nice. You can find videos. You can find the African blog here. Click on these and know what's going on with the family. You can find the news and sports, the US news, international news, the US black news, the business news, the science, technology news. And you can also click on this social icon. If you click on the social icon, it helps you sign up on the network website and join a community of like-minded individuals. We are all about Black power, all about Black excellence. We are all about inspiring collective African consciousness so that we are able to come together to a place of a global prominence as we were before. We have been at the top as an African people, as a Black people. We can be able to get back there again. But then again, it takes unity. Unity is what the platform, this is a platform for unity for African people around the world, not just in Africa, not just in the US, not just, it's just a platform, global platform for us as Black people around the world, and are getting to inspire that collective African consciousness. So there's a whole lot of materials there, news, blogs, live radio, videos. It's everything that you will find on that particular platform. So for those that have signed up, thank you so much. You can download the app. It's available on Play Store, BlackHotFire Network. It's available on Play Store. If you head over to your phone, search for the BlackHotFire Network, and you'll find a whole lot of wonderful things on there. So if you do have a question, please do ask. We have learned about the three tenses. The tense markers are different. For the past, we do say li, nilisoma. For the present, we do say ni nasoma, I am reading. For the future, we do say ni tasoma, ni tasoma. So these are li for the past. For the past, we do have na for the present, and we do have ta for the future. Ta is for the future. So that will be nitasoma, 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 nilisoma, ni nasoma. That is the tense markers in three regards when talking about the verbs in Swahili. And these are bits to help us understand a bit of the Swahili grammar. It helps us understand a bit of the Swahili grammar. Anyone with a question up to that particular point, feel free. Feel much welcome to ask a question. Feel free. Feel much welcome to ask a question. Feel free. Feel much welcome to ask a question. If no one has a question, I believe maybe we can reach at that particular point. And our next class, we shall pick it up from the adjectives. In the next class, we shall go into adjectives. In the next class, we shall go into learning adjectives. But for now, I think we can end it there. We can end it there. I'm going to play you one more jam. Is it a wonderful jam that I feel that we might end with? Our class we might end with. It might be TID. What song would this be? Let me play your jam, which is known as Zeze. As you wind up, Zeze actually refers to a music instrument. Now, this is a Tanzanian artist. I know in the 60s, there was some Black Panthers that left the US and I went to Tanzania. I do hope that they found it very easy to learn Swahili, and you can enjoy music like this when you do know a bit of Swahili. Let me play this for you as you wind up. That's a musical instrument from Tanzania. It's known as Zeze.
Mateso moyoni, usiku silali.
That was a jam that came out in when was that? That was about how many years ago? That was a jam that was jamming some years back, about 20 years ago. And that was an artist known as a TID or Topinda, which means Top in Dar es Salaam. He was actually the most popular artist in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania back then. Then again, of course, things change. You know, new artists come up and they become the most popular and things like that. But nonetheless, we are winding up our class for today, and we would maybe perhaps inquire: does anyone have a question before you wind up? I would not love to leave anyone hanging. In case you do have a question. Also, my question to you was: where are you streaming us streaming live from? I would love to know. Where are you tuning in from? Where are you taking us out from? I would love to know whether you are on the continent, in the States, in Europe, in wherever you might be at, any part of the world. Please do let us know. And that would be me wishing you a very happy and a productive week ahead. I would say kwaheri, which means goodbye. And let me wish you a happy and a productive rest of your week. Till next time, next Saturday, Sunday, catch us the same time. For me, let me just sign out with this wonderful jam. Yes, have an enjoyable rest of the week, and I do hope that you join us our next class on Saturday and also on Sunday. Till next time, much peace and love. Kwaheri.